these are 5 things that every business is going to need to be successful. The number one reason that businesses fail, which is also the number one reason why people need they need to be able to be successful in business, is access to capital. 85%, I read this in another article this morning, 85% of businesses that fail from cash flow issues. They run out of money. I used to have a co-counsel that used to be a friend of mine. And he'd just tell me, he said, Steve, if you have a successful business, you'll need more money. Would you agree with that statement? He says, Steve, if you have an unsuccessful business, you will need more money. Would you agree with that statement? So the deal is, the reason that access to capital is number one on this list is that unless you execute your plan exactly per the way you've factored it out, you will probably need more money. Either you will grow or you will be a little bit slower than you expected to, and you will need to feed the beast, and someplace you'll need access to capital. Number 2, business acumen. That's why you're here today. Many of you understand the technical parts of your business, but don't necessarily understand the language of business. What is an income statement, and how is that different from a balance sheet? What is the difference between finance and accounting? Number 3, energy. This is not a 9-to-5 job. You don't turn it off at the end of the day. I work every day. Saturdays are my blog days. All right, I write my Monday blogs on Saturdays. I curate articles. I read 2 hours a day, every day, reading articles, amassing those, trying to pick the 4 best articles to put on my blog posts on Mondays. This happens all the time. When I go on vacation, I bring an iPad with me or a laptop. I am constantly doing things. Every time I see things, if I'm traveling between one location and another one, I'm listening to a book on tape, trying to get out a nugget of information that I can try some type of an experiment to see if it really works or not, right? Those kind of things. It is something that you will not turn off, okay? Number 4 is industry knowledge. Now, wait a minute. Some of you are probably saying, you're trying to tell me I could be in an industry and I don't really have to know a whole lot about that industry? And my answer to that is absolutely yes. Because, as we'll talk about in a few minutes, you're probably the technician. You probably know a lot about your industry. The problem is, like my dad used to say, if you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Okay? And so the fact is when things start going bad, you begin to work in the business, not on the business. All right? And as a matter of fact, just for people, there's different ways to get into business. We'll talk about that as well. But if you were to purchase a franchise, many franchisors, if you have any industry knowledge, you will be immediately disqualified. If you are a good cook, you will never get a restaurant franchise. If you're an automobile mechanic, you will not get an automobile-related franchise. The reason for it is they give you the script. They give you the system. They don't want you reinventing it. I own a Wendy's restaurant. If I want to make breakfast, I don't have that option. Do you understand? So they do not want you to have any ability to understand the industry of cooking, because they're going to give you the recipe. They're going to tell you exactly how it's done because it's a repeatable thing. That's what franchise is all about. That's why it's number 4. And number 5, which is probably what many of you are here for, thinking, I have number 5, and I think I can build a business about that, and that is the idea. I have a great idea. I think I can start a great business. And what I usually like to share with people is I say, this modest invention right here is the ballpoint pen. This ballpoint pen replaced the fountain pen. The fountain pen had many problems. It only wrote in an almost purely vertical position. If you tapped on it a little bit, ink would drip out of the end of it. It had a lot of flaws. So you would think that the time that this ballpoint pen was invented and began to be marketed to the general community, that it would have just removed all the fountain pens on the planet and been replaced. How long do you think it took for the time from this invention to the time it reached mass appeal? 10 years? Anybody else? 20 years. 50 years. So the inventor who came up with this idea probably never saw a penny from it. He probably died long before he would ever have seen this. So most people I talk to say, listen, Steve, I got this great idea. And I say, how old are you? How much time do you have to get kind of traction? Because it does take a long time. We see things, Facebook, wow, it'll happen. But you don't realize it took 10 years for Facebook to become a common household name. Right? It takes a long time. There's perseverance that actually goes in there. Okay? So coming up with a great idea is not necessarily going to be the be-all, end-all, and that's what's going to drive it. It happens to be number 5 out of 5 on that list of important things.